Hi everyone, good morning. Welcome to Saturday Breeze live from Vishvavahini studio here in Melbourne, Australia. As always, Saturday Breeze will bring you information, entertainment, education and excitement. We've got a very big program for you today, and we've got what's on in Melbourne coming up soon, and we've got celebrity news coming up, and we'll tell you what are the four movies that you must watch in this February. And we've got a property expert, Asha Pereira, is coming to the studio to tell you what you need to know before you buy a property. And we've got some funny video clips coming up soon as well. Big thanks to Roshavi. Thank you very much, Roshavi, to coming today, because Roshavi is filling in for Lauren this week and next week.
Yes.
So, how's things, Roshavi?
Well, things are good. What about you?
Yeah, very good, very good. Have you got any plans for today?
Well, I'm really excited for tonight, actually.
Yeah.
I'm attending the Rantaru concert.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I'm a really big fan of Shyam Hiranga.
Oh, okay, so I heard about that concert. Is it like a dancing, singing together? Or?
Pretty sure, yeah, it is.
Yeah? Yeah. Where is it today?
It's in Basin Centre.
Basin Centre, and do you know what time it starts? Is it just one show? 6:30?
Yeah, pretty sure 6 o'clock.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you very much, Roshavi, and we'll kick off the program with What's On in Melbourne with Roshavi.
Yeah. Everyone, so this is What's On Melbourne. The first one is, this is like top 5 Valentine's Day events. Valentine's Day falls on Tuesday this year, so unless you have the day of work, the long lazy brunch needs to be replaced by some other gesture. Here are my top 5 ideas that will win her heart for sure. The first one is delivered gift box. Select roses, champagne and chocolates, or a gift hamper of treats for pamper from many of acclaimed florists around Melbourne. Online orders and home delivery makes life easy. The second one is Cirque du Soleil, Cruiser. Presented under the air-conditioned big top at Flemington Racecourse, Cruiser by Cirque du Soleil combines death-defying acrobatics with clowning while exploring fear, identity, recognition, and power. Follow the innocent as he takes a journey of self-discovery through a comic kingdom of eccentric characters, electrifying thrills and surprises. The third one is Shimmerlands. Free outdoor music, cinema, and a food court housed with some of Melbourne's finest restaurants serving up a range of gourmet cuisines. Held in the beautiful Melbourne University grounds, book in fast for the 1992 romantic action drama, The Bodyguard, playing on Tuesday 14th. Fourth one is Adventure Cruise. Take a romantic cruise down the Yarra River to Williamstown and Port Phillip Bay. This 2-hour, $149 PP sale includes a glass of sparkling on boarding. Further, drinks can be purchased from the bar as well as anti-spore platters for 2. Book through Adventure Sales. The last one is Luna Park. The classic romantic date night at Melbourne's much-loved amusement park for $65 per couple. This is another event. It's White Night Melbourne, which is on 18th February. Get ready to walk the streets of Melbourne from dusk till dawn in search of exhibitions, street performances, music, dance, installations, illuminations, film screening and interactive events throughout the CBD and city cultural precinct. White Night Melbourne will make the city's streets, laneways, public spaces, gardens and cultural institutions come alive for one night only.
Buying a property. Buying a property can be very exciting, but at the same time, it can be very scary as well, because you never know whether you made a right decision or not. So it's a bit of so many things out of your control, and it's a bit of a gamble sometimes and a bit of a risk and return. So Asha Pereira is an accountant, real estate and property expert. He's going to talk about solutions to all these problems. Thank you very much, Asha, coming to the studio.
Good morning, Pubudu. Not a problem, pleasure. Good morning, everyone.
Okay, so before we get into all the nitty-gritty of real estate, so many viewers ask us, like, as a foreigner, if they want to invest or if they want to buy property, especially in Melbourne, because Melbourne being a most livable city in the world, like all eyes on Melbourne at the moment. So many viewers ask us, okay, as a foreigner, if they want to buy a property in Melbourne, what do they do? Like, what are the steps?
All right. First of all, they have to, like, if they're coming in as a foreign resident, so they're not Australian citizens or Australian residents who are living overseas. If they're coming into Australia as just a sole investor, so your country of living is overseas, let's say Sri Lanka or wherever, and if they're coming in, they have to get a FIRB approval, so which is Foreign Investment Review Board, so which is like board set up by the Australian government to monitor people who actually invest into Australia. And they have a little bit tightened the laws recently. So basically making it like people can just buy like sort of brand new properties. So that's...
So if you want to buy an existing property, like let's say like a 20-year-old house, would that be difficult or is that no?
It's no longer possible. No, it's not possible anymore. It used to be people could buy existing properties and probably do developments in there, but now they have tightened the laws. So they've said no, because like there was an influx of Chinese investors coming into Australia, especially investing in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, the major cities which are growing, and they've put a restriction on it. So asking people just to buy brand new properties or apartments or complex developments. Yeah.
Is that pretty straightforward process as a foreign investor? Like you just fill out some forms and you send that to the authority and they'll give you the permission back, or is that a bit of like a visa? You never know whether you're going to get it or not?
No, you will certainly get it, because it's just a matter of going through a conveyance or a legal advice if you have one.
Over here?
Yes, over in Australia, you can either select a mortgage broker or a legal conveyancer who can actually handle that. And there's a process involved in it, so you basically fill out all your personal information and then submit it with the FIRB, which actually currently costs about $5,000 to have that process done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any minimum amount that you have to spend, or you can buy any property? Like, does that have to be over $200,000? Is there any like a limit on it?
No, there's no such limit on it.
Okay. All right. So coming back to like if you're probably living in Melbourne or living in Australia, so if you want to buy a property in Melbourne or any part of Australia, right, let's focus on Melbourne, right? So where, like looking at last probably 5 years, like growth factor, so what your advice on a home buyers? Like, let's say someone want to leave, someone to buy a house to live, or as an investment property. So which suburbs are the red hot suburbs at the moment to buy?
Okay, see, historically, Australian property market has been doubling every 10 years. And then sometimes it's even shorter periods of time. For the last probably 100 years, it's been happening throughout. So there's a lot of opportunity when it comes to real estate growth. And then Australia has a high population growth as well. So because of that, there's a big demand. As you said prior, Melbourne has been the most livable city within the last 10 years, maybe about 5, 6, 7 times. So there's a massive influx of people actually moving into Melbourne. Same applies in Sydney as well as in Brisbane as well. But Melbourne, there's a big demand as it's being the most livable city. So if you can cater, look for an area where more in the metro Melbourne, so that's where the highest growth has been possible. So where if you look at regional cities, the growth has been just probably about 2% or 3% per annum. And we are in a metro Melbourne city, so as you can see, there's sometimes there's even 20% growth, so average of about 7 to 10% growth in a metro Melbourne city, so metro Melbourne suburb. So that's where you should be looking at. Or if you are investing into Sydney, there's definitely a big market, but the prices are much more dearer, much more expensive than Melbourne. And of course, Brisbane is a little bit lower than Sydney and Melbourne. But certainly there's opportunities in the metro suburbs.
Area.
Yes.
So when you said metro, let's say, for example, if you take Melbourne as example, like probably 50 kilometers around within Melbourne, any suburbs guaranteed to be successful.
That's right. But mainly, if you're looking at Melbourne, you probably should be looking at the southeastern corridor. That's where the highest growth is, where more greenery as well as more infrastructure is in place. So Australian government has been placing a lot of concentration towards growth of that corridor, trying to connect between now Cranbourne and Pakenham. So there's a big market in that where Clyde North, Clyde and property prices are skyrocketing high. And then still there's a lot of farmland which will eventually get subdivided according to the precinct plan. And because of the migration and a lot of people, even within the country itself, people move into Melbourne. So they're looking for buying properties, because I recently got a call from a colleague who's a Sri Lankan born who was living in Adelaide. So they're looking at moving into Melbourne. So there's certainly opportunities here. So because of that, people are looking into buying properties in the southeastern corridor. But it all depends on where you are living and what your work is. So if your work is in the western suburbs, there's certainly no point you living in the southeastern and traveling for a couple of hours.
Well, this is for the people who wants to buy and live in the same property.
Yes.
And then if your family got little kids, so where's the nearest primary school is, and where's the nearest high school, and all these elements come into play when you buy a house, isn't it?
Absolutely, because inner city is definitely the most expensive. I mean, most of the inner city Melbourne suburbs have already hit $1 million mark. When you're buying a property, even a brand new one would be even much more higher. So in that scenario, like they look at public transport, they look at schools, primary schools, secondary schools, hospitals, and sports, and certainly there's a lot more. And if you look at even the growth corridor, like such as Cranbourne or Office or Pakenham, there's a lot of infrastructure going in there, like, there's a lot of private schools, there's a lot of government schools coming up, and then public transport systems are expanding, the bus network is expanding. So when you're buying something, always look for something which could be easily rentable. So that's the most important one. So I mean, easily rentable is if there's a bus stop near to the place, or if there's a train station, that would be the best. You look for something closer to a train station, but not exactly opposite to a train station, but probably within 5 minutes walking distance. So there's definitely a rentable market for it. And then schools, so if you can look for schools and other infrastructure such as swimming pools or even sports complexes, and much closer they are, certainly there's going to be much more rental value as well as appreciation of your property.
Well, that's good. And last week, this news come out, right? Because I think especially Commonwealth Bank, they're tightening their lending criteria. I'm not sure whether all other major banks follow the Commonwealth Bank or not. So the banks tightening their lending criteria, what's the impact on that real estate market? Would that real estate prices going to go up or going to go down, or what's the impact on that?
See, it might hold on for a little bit, but certainly there's been an increase in the interest rates. Even though the RBA interest rates has been going down, the banks has been tightening screws a little bit. There's certainly an influx of investors who's actually buying properties in the southeastern corridor as well as all around Melbourne. So, but we have gone through a GFC, like global financial crisis. Even during that time, Australia survived, and majority of the markets such as US and UK and rest of the world actually crashed their property markets. But Australia held on to it because we have a lot of migration, like a big migration policy, like the 2060 plan, which is they want to expand the population to 40 million. So that would be from internal births as well as from a lot from migration as well. So certainly current population of 23 million to 40 million means there's a 17 million population growth. So currently in Melbourne, like in Victoria, we only have about between 5.5 to about 6 million people living here. So which means 3 times of Melbourne. So which needs to be another 3 more cities basically. So that's not going to be coming up in the desert of Australia. So it would be within Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane and Adelaide and all the major cities. So which means it will be there's a growth market. So you can't expect. See, it might tighten and then it might slow down a bit. The growth, they're probably trying to slow down, the massive, because sometimes some of these suburbs have been growing so fast where the property prices have doubled within a couple of years.
Right?
And if you look at Cranbourne, I was actually having a chat with one of my friend's uncles, and he was mentioning he bought his property up in Cranbourne in 1996 for 95,000. That is a brand new property for 900 square meter block. And today the same property, the 900 square meter, I mean, if the house has no value, the property itself would be worth about $500,000, 400 to about half, because since of the size of the block, because now the blocks are becoming smaller and the house and everything, construction prices are going so high. Because of that, they're trying to keep a track of things. So maybe it will still grow, but it would be to a certain, they might want to cap the growth capacity. Yes.
Okay, yeah, so as you guys heard, so the Melbourne, especially about metro suburbs of Melbourne, right? If you can buy metro suburb of Melbourne, so you're not going to get wrong, right? So the property prices are going to go up. You might have slightly bit of a spike going down at a time, but the property trend is on the way up. Right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, so what's your general advice, Charles, as an investor, or so is there any hidden factors that you have to consider, to buy, apart from the stuff that we're talking about, and any other things to consider before you buy a house? Let's focus on Melbourne and some family, young family with 2 kids, want to buy their first home, right? And what are the main factors that you want to consider before you buy?
All right. So first of all, you have to get your finances in ready. Certainly, because now the finance market, as you said, it's becoming a little bit tougher, where they're asking for a bit more deposit. So if you're starting off, so if you're a foreign investor, you might need a lot more than a local person who's actually buying a property. So that, of course, so start establishing yourself, saving up a bit more money, and then start looking for properties in the growth corridors, and then looking at the past history and everything. As I said, look for properties which are closer to schools, closer to public transport, closer to more infrastructure facilities, and then put down a deposit towards that and start working towards it. So that's the most important thing, because if you keep on thinking, yes, I'm going to buy it next year, I'm going to do that, but you never make a start, it would never happen. So if you commit into something, let's say if you're going overseas, you buy the ticket and then start paying for it over your credit card or something, then it happens. So just like that, into the property market, sooner you can get in, sooner better it is. I mean, people who if they have already been in the market, they've been very successful. So certainly with the growth possibilities in Australia, there's so you better start off early. And then plus you can probably look, if you're looking for finance into buying a property, look for a mortgage broker, because the mortgage broker might be able to give you more alternatives in regards to how you can come up with that required funding to buy that property. Because if you just go to a bank just might look at their own products and they might reject you. So in that scenario, if you can go to a mortgage broker will assess your scenario and tell you what needs to be done. So that of course, and then if you're a foreign investor, speak to a conveyancer or a legal advisor in regards to FIRB approval, and work on that.
Yeah, okay. And the other thing that I want to talk about is so many people are looking into these trust funds, and you got one happening at the moment as well, right? Can you talk about this trust fund and how can you make money out of these trust funds?
See, since the property market is growing so fast, I've been working on a trust basically who can actually invest into property. So that is called Real First Crowdfunding. So I'm trying to get a few investors together into buying properties, so which would be a less commitment than buying it yourself. So there's definitely opportunities in investing into tourism, because certainly with the population growth and everything, the current regional suburbs, people are looking into getaways, especially even the Australians as well as the new migrants are looking into holidays. So when they do, there's certainly a demand for it. So looking at the property growth prediction, so there's certainly a lot more opportunity for you to join hands with locals. If you're a foreign investor, join hands with myself or my team, and basically invest into property as a group than individually investing yourself. So.
Okay.
Yeah,
yeah, that'll give you them a bit of a assurance and security as well, isn't it?
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, look, I think you heard it when I summarize these all together. So, as a first home buyer, you have to start it. Yeah. That's right, Asha, right? So just don't wait until I'll buy the house next year or year after or 2019. Just start it now, and it'll work out somehow. So if you're not sure, go to a mortgage broker and ask what's your options and how can I get the funds. Okay, yeah. Thank you very much, Asha, coming to the studio today. It's very, very valuable information for you guys, and yeah, hopefully we'll see you again.
Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks. So.
Welcome back to today's segment. As you know, we like to update people on latest technology, lifestyle procedures, etc. Today we're going to be discussing mobile phones, service providers, and what's out there on the market. Okay, so I'd like to introduce Yamath. He's been in the mobile phone industry for the past 7 years. Yamath, great to have you here today.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, Yamath, can you tell us briefly what products are out there on the market?
Well, there's quite a few products. I've brought some with me here. One of the major Android manufacturers in the market is Samsung, although they have had some issues recently, but they still make quite a few phones. Some of their Galaxy range phones are really good. It's great for people that are wanting to customize their phone, make it unique to themselves. You've got plenty of options, and you're not particularly locked into an ecosystem. So that's great for tech heads, people wanting to explore their phones, wanting to get a lot of use out of their phones.
I heard the camera on the Samsung is pretty good as well.
Yeah, it's really good. It has a 16 megapixel camera and image stabilizing, so if you've got very shaky hands, it'll actually make your picture nice and clear as well.
Oh, very good.
One of their biggest competitors is Apple. They make the iPhones. Very easy to use, very popular in the market. A lot of people tend to go for this because it's easy to use, does everything they need. Most of the time people just after a phone that makes phone calls, and this does it.
Fantastic.
However, it is a premium device, so you do pay for a little bit of the branding as well.
Yes, definitely.
Next, we've got something called Huawei, very popular in the Asian market because of its, I would say, price point. They offer a lot of features for the budget customers as well.
Very nice.
And lastly, I bought a Windows phone. It's very new in the market. It's coming up there, but still has a lot of features, a lot of benefits for people that are wanting to try something new.
Okay, very good. So for the younger generation, say 18 to 25, which product and which plan probably would best suit them? How would you go about that?
For that age group, I would say look out for a service provider that offers a lot of data, because nowadays that age group tends to use a lot of social media, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and that's very data intensive.
Yes.
But I would say also see what their family is on, because nowadays service providers allow you to share your data. So if you combine your plan onto, say, your father's plan, mother's plan, you can share the data. So they might be getting a plan that has a bit of data, but they might not be using it, whereas that generation, so a son or a daughter, might be able to get join onto their plan and then add the data and pull the data, so they don't get a big nasty bill at the end of the month.
Oh, that's good, that's good. So for the mature generation, which phone would probably be best?
I would say they should look out for a phone, a plan that gives a lot of calls, so unlimited calls. In my experience of working for such telco service providers, one of the main questions I get asked is how many international calls does it provide? How many overseas? How much data can I use when I'm overseas? So in terms of global roaming, because they like to travel a lot.
Yes.
So I would say something that offers a service provider that offers a lot of international calls, and nowadays you can also purchase global roaming data as well, so you don't have to mess around with buying prepaid phones when you're overseas as well.
Very good. Lately a lot of issues have arisen with safety few issues with a lot of the newer models, phones. Do you know which phone generally you'd want to go for safety-wise, safe for the safety conscious?
Yep. Like I said, Samsung, this is the Samsung Note 5. Their model after this was the Note 7, which got recalled because of the battery issue.
Yes.
So safety now is a major concern for customers. However, before this issue, there was the issue of how much radiation a phone is giving out, whether it's causing risk because we carry a phone 24/7 nowadays. However, if people are concerned, they can purchase a chip from a company called Bodywell, which offers to absorb the radiation. But there hasn't been anything proven to cause any risk to your health from the radiation that comes out of the phone.
Okay. All right. Thanks so much for all your help today, Yamath.
That's all right.
That's great. And congratulations on your recent engagement. We've got your lovely fiancée here in the studio today. She's absolutely lovely. Okay. Thanks so much for our viewers for watching today. We'll see you next time.
Welcome back, everyone. So we got 4 must-see movies coming out in February 2017. The first one is the Lego Batman movie, a sequel to 2014 surprise smash hit that somehow wasn't a very expensive toy commercial. The Lego Batman movie looks to be every inch the follow-up we deserve. The movie's trailers have all demonstrated the same bitingly intelligent humor and inventive Lego physics of its celebrated phobia. The second movie is John Wick Chapter 2. When the first John Wick hit theaters, most people dismissed it. Afforded the opportunity to see it in the theaters, for free mind you, I opted to go home and turn on Netflix. It wasn't until it hit DVD that people realized what an unsung gem it actually was. An intense, lean, no-holds-barred action movie made by men who appreciated in-camera stunts and elaborate action choreography. On top of that, it crafted a complete, detailed, lived-in world from the ground up, promising fertile ground to develop in any number of follow-ups. The third movie is A Cure for Wellness. While horror is without question my favorite genre, even I had to admit that so-called scary movies are disproportionately terrible. Made on a shoestring budget, a condensed schedule, and with the cheapest creative talent money can buy, they repeatedly prove that adage that you get what you pay for. And lastly, the movie is Get Out. Some ideas are so perfect, so simple, that it's a minor miracle that nobody's ever tried to exploit it before. Take the premise of the Stepford Wives, where the women of a seemingly idyllic town are being replaced by the men with servile robots, and make it about black people in a predominantly white neighborhood, and you have the best idea for a movie from the last 5 years.
Well, thank you very much. Those movies, Roshavi. Yeah. And the one thing I want to mention is last week I went and saw that movie Lion. Yeah, have you seen that movie?
No.
No, it's a very good movie, but very emotional movie. Because it's based on true story. Because one Indian boy went missing, like when he was about 5 years old, and then a Tasmanian couple found and adopted him, and then the whole story sort of goes. I'm not going to give much away. Any spoilers. So please go and have a look, and it's a very emotional movie. Because I think this is the first time I ever cried watching a movie, Roshavi, because I just trying to keep everything in, but I couldn't. I was crying, and then I looked around, and everyone is crying. It's a very emotional movie, but don't watch this movie if you're going out or anything like that.
It'll ruin your day.
It'll ruin your day, but very good movie. So that concludes our Saturday Breeze today. So we will be back next Saturday, 10 o'clock. So thank you very much, Roshavi, again, filling in for Lauren. And thank you very much for all our viewers. And we'll see you guys next Saturday, 10 o'clock. Thank you.